Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So, start of a new week. Unfortunately, for Bitcoin and crypto, both are still under attack. Today, breaking news from, or exclusive news from Reuters, saying that the Department of Justice may be charging Binance for money laundering. So, what is this about? Is this the end of Binance, the end of crypto? Well, let's discuss. And of course, there's more to discuss for this week because we are going to get some major economic news and decision making. So let's talk about those things as well. So welcome, guys. We are 1 minute away from the opening bell. And right now, Bitcoin stands at 17,000. Actually dipped a little bit lower last night, but it has crawled back to 17,000. And let's get to what's going on with this breaking. Oh, actually, before I change my screen, there's the bell. The best bell in the industry. And by the way, just to remind you guys, I am streaming, of course, on YouTube, but also streaming on Twitter and Rumble now. So in case you guys are using one of those other platforms or you're not, I'm multi-streaming these days. All right, now let's get to this. So this is breaking news, exclusive news out of Reuters. Okay, recently, I just have to comment before I get to this. Recently, we've been hearing a lot of bad news from a lot of media outlets. Okay, just yesterday, on the front page of CNBC, they talked about the shady history of Chris, the founder behind Crypto.com. And now we have Reuters putting this on their front page as well, that the U.S. Justice Department is split overcharging Binance as the crypto world falters, right? There does seem to be some kind of coordinated attack on Bitcoin and crypto right now, okay? Does seem like after the FTX fallout, everyone is trying to get in and trying to stomp the entire industry. And actually, one person had a really good theory about this I'll get to in a little bit. But what is this about? Well, supposedly, the U.S. Justice Department has been looking into Binance since 2018. This is not recent. They've been looking into Binance since 2018, basically looking at their anti-money laundering laws and also their KYC requirements. And they don't like what they're seeing. Now, in 2018, when Binance is still relatively new, relatively young, they didn't really have a lot of these protocols in place. But obviously, over the last few years, Binance has been getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But this is talking about how they started that investigation. And, you know, in 2019, 2020, right, they were asked for a lot of documents, had trouble producing them, supposedly. This is all according to sources, okay, that Reuters somehow has. Who are these sources inside the Justice Department? We don't know. Could be completely fabricated, right? But supposedly, these sources said that Binance couldn't produce a lot of these documents, had a lot of problems, right? Also problems in the U.S., which is why they formed Binance.us, and so forth, and continues on, and makes it seem like Binance really, they don't know what they're doing, right? And also, they also helped a lot of bad people escape sanction laws and process crypto transactions from people that shouldn't be able to do it. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff, accusations thrown out at Binance, according to Reuters and according to these sources that I'm putting in air quotes, okay? Because we have no idea who they are, right? So that's the thing. Now, the latest is a couple things. Either the Justice Department is going to charge Binance for money laundering, or they're going to settle with them. CoinDesk said that, hey, they actually may settle, you know, some kind of fine or something, right? So it's one of the two. Most likely it's going to be settled if they do have enough evidence. But of course, this is still pending. We don't know if this is actually going to happen, okay? And again, this is all really speculation in terms of what the sources are saying, supposedly. So I do think right now there's a coordinated attack on Bitcoin and crypto as a whole. There's definitely some kind of attack. Ever since FTX, right, maybe it shook up a few people. Maybe it exposed some people, right? So now there seems like there's a deflection going on, right? The people that were exposed or weakened, they're trying to point fingers elsewhere to kind of deflect on their involvement. So I like to remind you guys a couple things about banks. But no, before I get to that, I want to show you. Binance did respond to this. They had their top guy kind of write a whole blog about this, right? Saying how since, the beginning, they have responded to 47,000 law enforcement requests. They have increased the security and compliance headcount by more than 500%, participated in 70 anti-cybercrime workshops, and became the first blockchain crypto company to join National Cyber Forensic and Training Alliance. And they respond to everything very quickly. They have complied with every single jurisdiction, right? So they are basically saying this is just a giant FUD piece against Binance, right? And remember that person I said has some interesting thoughts about this, Max Keller. Max Keller, one of the big Bitcoin bulls out there, right? Look at what he said. Just like the U.S. attacked Iraq after Saudis did in 9/11 to deflect and look like they're doing something, the U.S. will attack Binance after the reveal that SBF and FTX, through several elections, stole $8 billion and corrupted scores of U.S. politicians and VCs. Right? Deflection? That makes sense. That makes a whole lot of sense, right? To try to attack Binance, trying to deflect what's really happening with FTX and SBF. Interesting thought. Now, here's also interesting thought for you guys, okay? Did you know that the largest banks that we have today, the largest banks that you depend on, have also been laundering money? In fact, they have been laundering money for so long that people don't even pay attention to the headlines anymore because it seems to be a common occurrence for them. So if you thought that the U.S. Justice Department charging companies for money laundering was serious, well, if you're a bank, it's more like a slap on the wrist fine. So I decided to do some research because I have looked at some of these headlines before. Here's one that just talks about 2020. Take a look at all the banks that were slapped with several hundred million to billions in fines due to money laundering. Goldman Sachs, almost $4 billion. Wells Fargo, almost $3 billion. Chase, almost $1 billion. And you got Westpac and all these other banks, some not even in the U.S., slapped with billions of fines. This is a common occurrence, right? So this attack on crypto makes it seem like it's so bad, right? And first of all, this whole slap on Binance, that's still speculated. That hasn't happened yet. But just to give you guys a reminder that the banks, the largest banks on earth, has been doing this for decades. And not only with money laundering, but with much worse things too. And they don't get shut down. They get a slap. That's it. Okay? JP Morgan fined $2 billion. This is back in 2014 when Bernie Madoff, the whole Ponzi collapse, right? All the stuff that they ignored, somehow it's okay. They got fined $2 billion. Here's one. Bank of America ordered to pay $17 billion. Again, due to a lot of the shenanigans that happened in the last housing bubble with the mortgage-backed securities and all the risky things that they did, right? Yeah, it's okay. It's okay if you break the law. It's okay. You just pay a fine, right? Wells Fargo charged recently $3 billion because they decided to open up accounts for everyone. Everyone that was account holder in Wells Fargo, well, they decided to open up credit card accounts for those people. That's a criminal thing. That's really serious. You can't just open people's accounts without telling them, right? Well, they did that. They did that, and they were slapped on the wrist for $3 billion. All these banks have been doing nonstop shenanigans over the last how many decades, right? They all operate like nothing happened, right? So it's just basically a coordinated attack from the banks, again, to deflect all the bad things they have done, right? And now trying to attack the one sector that could really basically upset them, replace them, make them into dinosaurs, right? It makes you wonder what's going on right now, right? So, yeah, I just want to give you guys an insight into what has happened before and what's going on right now. And I do think there's definitely an attack overall, right? While crypto is weak, there are certain individuals and entities behind the scenes that's loading up, stocking up, but causing a whole lot of fear right now, trying to make you stay out of the game. That's exactly what's happening right now. Exactly what's happening. All right, so that's what I want to lead off with, right? Kind of explain the whole situation. Anyways, my thoughts are this. I've said this before about Binance's CZ. You know, ever since they came out in 2017, right? They grew very fast, but CZ has shown that he's not perfect. He has made some mistakes, especially publicly. But within the last few years, he has really stood out as someone different, a person that looks like he could be trusted versus all the other leaders of a lot of these other projects that really did a lot of shady things and things that were too risky, over leveraged, and it brought their projects to a collapse. And CZ and Binance seems like he's making none of those mistakes, continuing forward, and as the biggest crypto exchange on earth, you're going to get attacked. But here's the thing. A lot of people also recognize, including myself, that Binance has gotten to a point where they are very, 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 very big, extremely big. Without FTX now, their really only competition is Coinbase. If you think about it, there's no one else that's close in their size, right? So I can understand how people are distrusting of them because of that, right? But overall, I think as an exchange, they're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to get collapsed. If anything, if the U.S. Justice Department does charge them for whatever reason, it will most likely be a fine that they could easily pay, and that should be the end of that. But if you are worried about your crypto on Binance, well, it's never too late to put your crypto into a wallet that you control, a self-custody wallet, right? So you don't have to worry about anything happening to Binance or any other exchange out there, right? Never too late to learn how to self-custody your own crypto. All right. With that said, what else is going on? Well, there's a whole lot of things going on this week, okay, for U.S. economy. Right now, the market has opened slightly green, not NASDAQ though, slightly green for Dow and S&P, right? MasterCard is saying that inflation has peaked, but not returning to pre-COVID levels, but inflation has peaked. And that is what everyone is waiting for. Tomorrow, we will get CPI data. It's going to be absolutely huge. It's going to drive the remainder of this week up or down, and maybe driving a lot more than that, depending on how the inflation reads. If it comes in line with expectations, which means that there's a slight rise with core inflation, but overall net inflation goes down. You can see right here, we're at 7.8% overall. It's anticipated it's going to go down to 7.3%. That's a pretty big drop, but core inflation will go up 0.1% from the previous 1.3%. This is year to year. So it's expected that year to year core inflation is still on the rise, but slowing down, now 0.4%. So if we get readings tomorrow where the core inflation comes in line with this 0.4 or even goes lower to 0.3, and the CPI comes in at 7.3 or even lower than that, we will get one of the biggest rallies we have ever seen, because that's going to lead to the next day, which is the FOMC news conference. Powell will come out for certain and say that, well, we have done our job. Inflation is coming down. We're going to be more dovish, and we're going to start decreasing the rate hikes into 2023. It's going to lead to good things. However, if the opposite happens, if these core inflation CPI goes up, well, that can make Powell change his mind and continue to stay hawkish, right? That's That's not what we want. So I guess tomorrow is going to be a very, very, very important day. Very important day indeed. So let's see what happens tomorrow. Okay. Outside of that, there's other crypto news and Bitcoin news, of course. Hey, supposedly Do Kwon has now moved to Serbia. So you know how Do Kwon brags about how no one's after him and he's not hiding? Well, he certainly is hiding because authorities are looking for him and he's moving. Supposedly he moved from South Korea to Dubai. Dubai said that he's no longer there because even Dubai is looking for him. And then now the latest is he's moved to Serbia. And Do Kwon last month was very cocky on Twitter saying, hey, I'm not hiding. I'm going to have a hangout and I invite everyone to join me. I'm going to reveal my location. Yet he has not done any of those things. So Do Kwon is also definitely on the run. Even though he has come out and ITrustCapital, everyone coming out, blaming that how his project popped because of FTX and SBF. I have no doubt maybe that was popped by SBF, right? I actually think it's very likely that SBF popped Terra, but overall, Terra Luna, we know. We know now, hindsight in 2020. Back then, I think a lot of us overlooked it, but it was a project that was built in theory, one that had a regular token and algorithmic stablecoin tied very closely together. And the theory was that it was going to work, but obviously not. Obviously, there's a bank run. There's not enough reserves to cover that and withstand that, and the project went under, right? But throughout all of that, Mr. Do Kwon was very cocky indeed, making bets left and right, attacking people on Twitter, anyone that was criticizing Terra at the time, right? So he gets no love from the community whatsoever. He is still in hiding, so we'll see. Something else that's concerning about algorithmic stablecoins is Tron has one. USDD is a mirror copy of UST, because Justin Sun cannot be trusted and he has no creativity. All he does is try to copy, and he copied, and that might lead to his downfall, because USDD is an algorithmic stablecoin tied in with several pools and tied in with Tron. Luckily though, USDD is not, in the billions, it's in hundreds of millions, so should be relatively easy for Justin to kind of stabilize them. But as of right now, they have slipped from the dollar to 97 cents, right? So hopefully, this has happened before, so hopefully they can plug this back and make it whole. But overall, algorithmic stablecoins just really can't be trusted at this point, right? It's good in theory, like what happened to UST is good in theory, but when there's a bank run, it's basically you can't stop it. You can't get it back to its peg. That's the problem. Okay, and as for Bitcoin, despite all the attacks, the media attacks, the bank attacks, whatever attacks that's going on, you know what? Bitcoin holders are unfazed. Number of addresses holding 10 to 1,000. So this is not the small fish, relatively big fish, okay? Having 10 Bitcoins is very, very hard to do. And having 1,000 is near impossible unless you're an institution or exchange. But the number of addresses from 10 to 1,000 has been rising, and bottomed out around February. And since then, massive accumulation. Even though the price has gone down even more since February, but guess what? These big guys, they continue to load up and stock up, even more so recently than before, right? And that's what you're supposed to do. And maybe some of these guys are the ones that's been spreading FUD, trying to deflect, because they're the ones that's buying up, right? So pay attention to what's really happening behind the scenes, right? And of course, we have a lot of bottom indicators like this. This is looking at RSI on a monthly scale. Bitcoin has never been this oversold ever in its history, right? So if you're going by history, you're playing the odds, this is definitely one of those times that you want to be buying in, because we have never, ever, ever been this oversold in Bitcoin's history, going all the way back to the very beginning. So think about that. And of course, we have the next halving event that's coming up. That's not too far off. That's not too far off, right? In a couple months, we're going to be only 1 year away from the next halving event. And take a look what happens leading up to every halving event that we ever had and what happens after every halving event we ever had, right? Both good. Hint, both good. So there's that. All right, guys. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, and Lightning Network. Lightning Network to be used between the EU and Africa. Of course, that's good. Strike app, we already have that using Lightning Network. We have Cash App now that's also using Lightning Network, right? Lightning Network is growing by leaps and bounds, and overall good for Bitcoin and entire space. All right. We're still at 17,000, trending back up again. Let's do some Q&A. Jeff, hello from sunny Bradenton, Florida construction site. Wow. Welcome to you and the rest of the crew. Hey, first time I see some good chat going on Twitch right now. Funky Freshes. I've watched every video twice a day, almost every day since the summer of 2021. You really put crypto in perspective for me. Thank you so much for education, sharing experience with this space. I'm glad. I'm glad I made a difference, and I appreciate your support. All right, let's see if let me scroll up here. Let me see if I missed anything. SBF back FUD. You know what? Maybe. I didn't even think about that. You know, there's definitely a coordinated attack right now on other exchanges. Could be from the banks, could be from politicians, could be from SBF himself. Cloud Casino says SBF emails leaked. They were openly discussing how much SBF needed to break the Terra peg. See, that's the thing. I'm pretty sure that SBF, FTX caused the Depeg to happen and caused the whole thing to go belly up, right? But I'm not sure they actually knew that it was going to go belly up. I think they were just trying to Depeg it, you know, arbitrage and make a quick buck, but they didn't know that it was built on such shaky grounds that it was going to collapse. But, you know, then again, how could they not know, right? Crypto was very weak this entire year. If you just think about it, if SBF wasn't around, if FTX, FBF wasn't around, right, how much headaches we could have saved this year? Without Luna and Three Arrows Capital collapsing back in May and June, we would not have Celsius collapsing or Voyager or BlockFi collapsing, right? We wouldn't have FTX right now. You know, 2022 could have been a pretty decent year, even though we came down from highs, right? We could be settling at 30 or 40K as I stream right now, right? But if you think about it, the worst person that kind of set everything off is SBF. So I can't wait for all this to come out. I mean, it's going to come out. I can't wait until all this comes out that shows that he was the one behind everything. And not only that, counter trading Bitcoin. I have no doubt that SBF also, throughout some of our previous up and downs this year, and Bitcoin always seemed like it can't move past a certain marker, it was because that he was counter trading the entire market. He was making a ton by liquidating people with futures on FTX. And I've shown liquidations and how they were so high on FTX versus everyone else. So I have no doubt he was counter trading people too. That is going to come out because he's making billions by doing that, right? There's so much that's going to come out. Anyways. Roulette wheel. Appreciate the large super sticker. The Tron USDD depegging is karma is fine. I've said that at the beginning. I've always said this. After seeing what Justin Sun did over the last few years, especially early on, 2018, 19, 20, you just can't trust the guy. And all he does is try to steal other people's ideas because he has no creativity. You know, he did so many like shady marketing stuff and all this crazy. Anyways, any project he has bought has basically been run to the ground, like BitTorrent, and I forgot the other one that he bought. And Polionex is an exchange, basically run to the ground. So basically, he saw how successful Terra was with UST. He copied by coming out with USDD. Hopefully, he saves that because we don't want to see USDD or Tron go under at this point. But yeah, I will not get behind Tron or any Tron's other offerings until Justin leaves. Yeah. So overall market cap is down about 1.56%, which isn't too bad, but you can see BNB taking a bit of a hit today. Dogecoin taking a huge hit. Man, Doge is so volatile these days. You got several that's down. Very little in green today. There is also, yes, thanks for a reminder. I also did a video about XRP. Rumor that XRP settlement with SEC may be coming this Thursday on the 15th. So there's a possibility there. I don't know what to think of it. I don't know if it's really going to happen this fast or something else. It's not going to come, but I guess we'll see. Not Yoda. Thanks for being on Rumble. Yes, I'm also on Rumble right now. Well, 59 people watching, so pretty good. Only 9 on Twitch right now. Any chance that Gina will go on a date with you after December 15th? I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll see if Ripple settlement is coming. If Ripple settles the SEC, right, could be a slap on the wrist fine. And if that happens, that would be a great. If somehow Ripple just wins outright, like the SEC drops a suit and it's not even a settlement, that would be the best case scenario. But of course, the worst case scenario is they settle and Brad and Chris are removed from Ripple and they have to pay crazy amount in fees, and they may even have to return their, I don't know, whatever they made from the original ICO. That would be disastrous. But I do think that more likely than not, they will be settling and Ripple will probably pay like $10 million in fines, and that's it. I think that's what's going to happen. Rafk. You're marginalizing the problems in crypto by pinning everything to SBF. You don't speak to all the fundamental issues. You tell me, what are the fundamental issues? So obviously we had bad players that highly leveraged, took on too much risk, yes. But what are other fundamental issues? I like to hear it. SBF had hacked funds and paid off Reuters. You know, keep in mind, SBF still has a ton of money, even though he claims he has 100,000. You know, who knows how much is hidden in a ledger somewhere? No one knows until it's finally discovered later. But right now, we have no idea. No idea. Ethereum removing sharding from roadmap. Haven't heard of it. They could just be exploring some other way to scale. Like, for example, Polygon is already looking at ZK rollups, ZK EVM, right? Good way to scale. Ethereum could be looking at the same thing, or maybe they're going down the path of they're just going to allow layer 2s to help them scale. I doubt it. I think, you know, Vitalik's working on something, but oh shoot, my microphone came off. Sorry. Someone says I like Cadena. Great, I do too. Joel asks, what are your thoughts on a wallet that Satoshi owns 1 billion or 1 million Bitcoin, and what if it gets dumped on the market? Well, I think you already know. If it gets dumped on the market, it's going to bring the market down. But will the market recover afterwards? Yes. That's like a silly question to ask. That's like saying, hey, what if the U.S. Justice Department, or no, not U.S., bad example. What if the Federal Reserve decides to print $100 trillion? Does that go crash the USD? Yes. Yes, if they flood the market with more USD, it's go crash the value of USD. It's the same thing like that. But why would he, first of all? And second of all, I do think that scenario is never going to happen, because whoever Satoshi is either died or destroyed the keys, and no one will be able to access that. If Craig Wright has been trying all these years and claiming that he is Satoshi, and he worked with other people to create Bitcoin, and he wrote the Bitcoin white paper, and somehow, let's just assume, he is part of that group. He is part Satoshi. I'm not saying he is, but let's just assume if he was, and he still doesn't have the private key to Satoshi's wallet, that shows that it's gone forever. Thoughts on CRO? A lot of fun about CRO. I just did a video about them. CNBC is saying Chris had a really bad past. But if you look into it, he's just an entrepreneur. Of course, over the last 20 years, he's created other companies that failed, right? So that's not a ding against him. But as for Crypto.com, I do feel like they probably spent a little bit too much money in 2021. Trying to make big splashes like FTX, hired a lot of celebrities, bought naming rights, did Super Bowl ads. They probably wish they haven't done those things, but right now their proof of reserves show that they have enough assets, right? The thing about all these proof of reserves right now, and this includes Binance, is that they don't show the company's liabilities. They just show how much crypto they have, which could be a lot, but they don't show like how much liability, like debt and loans and all that stuff they have participated in, so you don't actually know. But they're working on it, supposedly. Crypto.com says they're over collateralized right now, so I think they'll be okay. Do you rate Kraken? I don't use Kraken. I know of them. Jesse seems to be a very outspoken leader. That's good. But I never really used them, so I can't really. I mean, but the simple fact that they're in the U.S. means that they're highly regulated, so I give them a bit more trust because of that. I don't know why people always ask that question. Why, like, what if Satoshi dumps this million Bitcoins? There's really no reason to think that other than people trying to cause more fear. Yeah, I don't know. Richard, appreciate it. Where do you think ADA will go in the next bull market? Well, back to their previous highs and beyond. Really that simple. Where's the market? US market turning green. That's good. Bitcoin climbing up a little bit more. Unfortunately, we're higher. We're at 17.1. We could certainly get back up there. How good is H-bar? I'm neutral on H-bar, so I can't say how good they are. I'm just more neutral on them. I think they're decent. They have promising tech, but I just like others better. Thoughts on Bitcoin being swatted? I have no clue what you're talking about, so I don't know. At this price range, I'll be a whole coiner by February. Congratulations. Tiberius, I thought you were a whole coiner already. But if not, congratulations. Basically, I think that's a really good goal to have for everyone, to become a whole coiner, to make sure that you have that as a goal, and then after you hit it, you make a new goal, 2 Bitcoins. And then after that, 3 Bitcoins. You keep going. I think it's just a race to see who can accumulate the most Bitcoins at this point. Do you think this coordinated attack is to keep people from finding alternatives before rolling out CBDC? I mean, there's definitely some kind of agenda, right? It could be because a lot of governments around the world wants to launch their CBDCs. It could be that a lot of exposed people are, again, trying to divert attention away from what has happened with FTX, their connection to FTX. Could be a lot of things. Could be SBF himself that is trying to divert blame. Could be Do Kwon. I don't know. It could be other exchanges too. I mean, it's not just on Binance. There's a whole lot of attack on Crypto.com right now too. And even on Coinbase. There's a lot of attack on Coinbase as well. All the major exchanges out there are getting attacked, right? So the real agenda, we don't know. It could simply be from the whales also looking to drive things lower or keeping things low so that they can accumulate more, right? So, I mean, just take a look at this. 10 to 1,000. Address is holding 10 to 1,000 Bitcoins, rising since February. Not just like since now. Since February. So basically, these guys have been accumulating for the past year. That tells you something. Who are these guys, right? Definitely some wealthy individuals out there. So that's also happening. I mean, so who knows what's going on behind the scenes, but you know, you got to read past all these games. You gotta just take yourself out, right? By ignoring the FUD and continue what you're doing, which is holding strong, you know, educating yourself and DCing, and that's how you opt out of all these shenanigans and games. If the XRP lawsuit's over, SEC could go after Binance. Well, we'll see if they could charge them on anything. Right now, I don't. SEC has so much on their plate, right? So we'll see what happens on the 15th, whether or not something's going to get announced with Ripple versus SEC. We'll see. We'll see. Did you see Charles' video on ADA price being manipulated by SBF FTX? No. Interesting. Interesting. I didn't see that. Charles Hoskinson has been throwing a lot of good stuff, I guess, on his streams. He was the one that broke the news about something maybe happening on the 15th for Ripple and SEC, and now he's talking about ADA also being manipulated by SBF. He could prove that, right? I think again, like I said, I think a lot of things will come out. SBF definitely did a lot of shady things, popped a lot of things, but it doesn't forgive the people that created projects that were unsustainable, made risky moves, over leveraged, right? That's still on them. But I have a feeling that SBF was the one that popped them all. So do you think we could get a pump before the reading? We could certainly make a good trend upwards, but I don't know about, you know, I think up to it, I don't think we're going to get a big pump. But afterwards, I think this inflation reading is going to be absolutely huge. It's going to be huge. If we get numbers that come below expectations, I mean, meaning we get good numbers, meaning inflation went down even more in November versus September, it's going to be fantastic for the remainder of this year and carry into next year. So I think it's going to be fantastic. So let's see what happens tomorrow. It's going to be absolutely huge. One Solana phone unboxing. I don't think I'm ever going to pick one up. If ETH is declared security, will SEC delist in the U.S.? They won't delist. You mean if the exchanges will? I think they will. That's a good question. No one ever asked that before. But I don't think Ethereum's going to go away. I think Ethereum is just going to comply with whatever rules that SEC deems. A lot of reporting requirements and company requirements. I was looking some of the stuff up, you know, as like a publicly traded company, what do you have to disclose? You got to do quarterly reports, who owns what. You have to disclose like the management team and stuff like that, which I don't think Ethereum has other than Vitalik. But there's a lot of like, just a lot of paperwork and a lot of stuff that you have to disclose, right? So no one wants that for Ethereum. No one wants that for any business or any company in crypto. I think Ripple is the only one that's most suited for that. Ripple operates like a company, right? So they already do quarterly reports. So I think Ripple is more suited for that than any other company out there. It's time to join the XRP army. I'll just say this. I'm rooting for Ripple to win, okay? because they are right now essentially not only fighting for themselves, for fighting the entire industry for us. We don't want Gary to have any more power than he already has. So we definitely want Ripple to win this case. Whether or not you're an XRP fan, you want Ripple to win that case. Roy Core says 99.9% of all money laundering is done using U.S. paper dollars. Yes. Just look at the fines. I covered this. Just look at the fines. The banks pay billions because of money laundering, and it's just like, it's just deemed okay. It's like, yeah, like, so what? Like, it happens all the time. And they have been fined for so many other acts of law breaking. It's like, it's just so common. Like it's nothing to them anymore. So, yeah. Maybe it's the banks that's behind all the FUD that we're seeing. Can't depegging be solved with contract not allowed to be under or over? No. Then that defeats the purpose of the algorithmic stablecoin. You can't just deem anything to be just $1 and set it like that. Man, a lot of people talking about BitBoy and this swatting thing. I have no idea what's going on there. I'll have to check out if he created a video. I have no idea what's going on with him, so I'll have to check it out. All right, guys. I think let's just conclude. Overall, of course, stay strong, my friends. More FUD this time with Binance. Supposedly from Reuters and their inside sources. Who knows who these sources are, right? I definitely think there's a coordinated attack. There's a coordinated attack on Bitcoin and crypto, no doubt. Deflection for some reason. There's some kind of agenda going on behind the scenes. So stay strong. This is really a way for the people, the whales, the elites, whoever, the banks, to drive you away from the sector. And that is not what you want to do. All right? So stay strong, my friends. And I will see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.